The Star.
Yeah, y'all already know. Seven the Panther. That dude Biz on the beat. Yeah. We live in entertainment. Sound change. Crown the kings, homie. This is where it get ill. About to have the tip off live as a tip drill. From the court to the diamond, to the track, to the big skin, flying around the field, starting five forever, keeping it real. If it matters in the world of sports, jeans and long sleeves, they taking no shorts. Hot to death, oh yes, these are the sports podcasts live as a pro's corpse. Biz market wave, it's starting five, goes off. No matter who you cheer for, emotions out the window, they analyzing with clear thoughts. They take it way deeper than the boys ever. No longer got any use for the four letters. The latest news, score stats and the view from the sideline. Ain't no guideline, it's just the truth. Yeah, no need to dig for a parting line. It's always in season. The people starting five. We going in on three. Run the baseline, starting five. Get it. We got what you need. If the sports news you see, we don't waste time. We talking cause we live it. We got what you need. We going in on three. Run the baseline, starting five. Get it. We got what you need. And y'all know me, seven sign. I'm the illest cat stick. I got what you need.
You know what? The song title says we got what you need. But this week, for some of y'all motherfuckers out there, we're giving y'all what we feel y'all need. Because some of y'all motherfuckers are going to have to listen to this just like y'all listen to The Closer. Just like y'all listen to ESPN and how John Gruden was assassinated this week. And I don't say that favorably. But what up, everybody? It's your boy, the Mayor. That DJ named Ace5. Your mom's favorite fat guy. All the way from a well-lit, deepest, darkest Africa. We are back with the newest episode of The Start at 5. Y'all know what to do as always. I'm going to get it right one of these days, but it's important. Bottom two corners of the screen, hit them QR codes. Scan Me takes you to the website. The other one, as it clearly says, join the Facebook group, brings you to the Facebook group. And I'm going to leave it as short as that. TJ, hiding in the wilderness right now, doing his best Eric Snowden.
Sorry, my mic was muted. My bad. What up, y'all? What's up, Mr. Mayor? How you? Shout out to our dubious guest of the day. You know what I'm saying? My man Jamal and my man from the I'm sorry.
The UWO podcast.
UWO podcast. I don't want to mess that up. You know what I'm saying?
It's all good. It's only 3 letters.
No. Thank you for joining us today. We should be having some more guests coming on shortly, but pleasure to have you gentlemen rocking out with us today.
Well, and y'all been here before, so Jamal, you the most reoccurring guest. You know what to do.
Appreciate you. Shout out to Starting 5. Shout out to the group. Shout out to all the guests on today, Mr. May and TJ, the guest brother from UWO. Appreciate you. Thank you for having me on. Looking forward to talking about today's topic. Happy to be here.
Right.
Wrong way pointing. There we go.
What's going on, everybody? It's Brian from the UWO podcast. Thank you to the Starting 5 podcast for having me on. As we just had another brother just join us. I'm very excited to discuss this topic because in my world of pro wrestling, this has become an issue. And outside of the world of pro wrestling, it's becoming an issue everywhere. So I'm very excited to see where this conversation goes today.
Well, let's keep it real. This has been an issue. This has been an issue, at least for the past 2 administrations. But the brother that I've been chopping it up with for the past 2 administrations or so, I haven't seen my man's in a minute. Ramon, what's good with you?
What's good? What's going on, y'all?
Oh, and like 2 butt cheeks coming together, his partner comes through.
What's going on, guys?
What's happening? Well, introduce yourselves. Y'all know what to do.
What's going on, y'all? I'm Ramon.
Good job, buddy.
What's up, Ramon?
And what's going on, everybody? It's Nick. We're 2 halves of the Garbled podcast. How's it going?
We good. We good. Where's the third? Where's the littlest woman in charge?
She's
She's ideal for this conversation.
she didn't know that she was requested, so
y'all know
Proper
what
planning.
it is. Y'all know what it is. It planning. Planning. You know we freestyle over here. But anyways, we just gonna jump right into it after this though, because first off, let me announce we're not gonna do the games of the week this week because we have such a loaded panel. Normally, as we always announce to y'all, we are your Sunday football watch along. Calculate and see how many picks we get wrong, which TJ, I'm sure we got a lot of picks wrong last week too. So never take betting advice from us. Or if you do take betting advice from us, you go the opposite way of the way we choose. I'll say that at that. But I just want, because I had Jamal laughing at this shit. I've been laughing at this fucking video all morning so far since I actually seen it 20 minutes before we started. I gotta share this fucking piece of comedy I found on TikTok with y'all, just to break the ice, just to get us laughing right out the gate. But watch this shit, yo. It's fucking hilarious.
Wake up in the morning, I smoke my tree. I smoke my tree. I smoke my tree. Ganja love me. Ganja love me. Big body girl one funny cocky with me. We love the blood. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna write this one down. I'm gonna write this one.
I'm sorry, y'all. I just had to share that with y'all because that shit's just connected to my dance hall roots from the late 90s and shit back in the day. I just Jamal, you see my tears before we started.
Yeah, man.
This shit is funny.
That man smoked and turned into snow.
Yeah.
But I just had to share that with y'all. But yeah, and I have some other things on TikTok, but I'm not gonna announce it because I was gonna pull it down recently. Nobody's responded to a little contest to win free shit. I thought people loved free, but it is what it is. But let's get into this fucking conversation about cancel culture, man. Want to open it up with, did everybody see Dave Chappelle's special, The Closer?
yes.
Yes.
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay, so for everybody who did, TJ, we'll start with you, and then you guys can just jump in when you next after. Initial thoughts on The Closer.
Overall, it was a good special. Dave was timely. You know, Dave likes to set up his punchlines, throughout the special. And if you're paying attention, you get it as he moves along towards the show. So to me, it was great. He talked about a lot of current event and a lot of controversial topics like we're going to get into right now. I understood his perspective and where he was coming from, what his points were in terms of what's being said and who it's said by and what is allowed to be said by that person. So we're going to get into that. Like I said, overall, it's Dave just being Dave. He's a solid comedian. He knows what his pocket is, and he stays in his lane every time, and he hits his mark.
Yep.
Now,
straight up.
Go ahead, Jamal. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You good, brother?
No. Go ahead. I'll leave Ramon and Nick for last because there's something I wanted to bring up within this. But go ahead.
No, the special was fantastic. Dave was out there giving sermons. Dave was the greatest comedic preacher we've ever seen. And if you notice with Dave, Dave is uncancelable at this point. And what Dave does is Dave does not put labels on nothing. He gives you points of conversation and points of view. And that's what's important. And that's why they can't cancel him. But
Brian?
Yeah, I agree with the two gentlemen just said before me. Dave Chappelle has been in my top 3 of comedians of all time. I got him up there with Pryor and Carlin. A guy who gives zero fucks, a guy who speaks the truth, a guy who, in my eyes, was always ahead of his time. This was a guy who knows like every time he goes on stage, the brother has like a direction that he wants to take you when he's telling these stories / jokes. And excuse me. his messages are always really, really deep. And like TJ said earlier, if you're paying attention to him, you're getting the message along the way. Yeah. And I think what he did was just pretty much tell the world, and I know, like you said, we're going to get into it shortly, that comedy has no limits. No matter who you are, what race you are, what ethnicity, gender, whatever. Like, if you're not able to laugh at yourself, then maybe you're the problem in this situation. And it sucks to say that, but at times it could be true.
No, it don't suck to say that, because to me that's actual factuals. Like everybody said so far, I believe that, like, to me, I called it a masterclass TED Talk in telling you the truth while making you laugh. And yeah, even if you don't like it, it was still true for many people out there. And Ramon, I'm gonna throw it to you now for your opinions on it. But I also wanted to lead in with this special, and a lot of things that was said within this special, well, said without being said, spoke directly to how comedy should be treated, which was one of the conversations that we was going to set up, that we mentioned, I think, at like your year closing show that we did together, that we need to do the conversation about comedy. And this special here was just so important to the integrity of comedy itself, in how you should, like, nobody's above these jokes, plain and simple.
What was interesting to me is, like, you had a community that used to take itself, it never, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. You have a community who did not take themselves very seriously, who now all of a sudden want to take themselves too seriously, to the point where they're willing to attack anybody who does. And the most poignant thing that I think he said in that entire special is, how the hell did Black and brown people all of a sudden, their struggle, the trans community's struggle, become more important than the Black and brown struggle?
Yeah, that true indeed, and we're going right there. We're going right into this shit. He spoke directly to that, because, you know, he mentioned, you're in the community, which, as we were talking pre-show before y'all jumped on, like, the flag is the rainbow, but their community essentially is a rainbow, because it encompasses all cultures of all. I personally want to stop using the word race when it comes to us, because I know Black folks hate this, but we are the human race. We are all of different backgrounds and makeups and cultures. We are all of different skin tones and stuff. But these skin tones and stuff come from geography and cultures. You know what I'm saying? That's how I like to define it. And they are made up of multiple cultures, but yet, even in American society, and I don't take this like I'm saying this unfairly, Nick, but I know where you stand. In America, it still lays down as, even if you are white, gay, transgender, your whiteness still shines above everything else.
Oh yeah. It's weird that you can't even get around it. And I mean, I say it's weird. It's just weird in my head, but, you know, that's all stuff that's been laid out. And starting the show with a TikTok, by the way, I've learned so much from TikTok. Like, it's fun, and, you know, girls pop up all the time, and that's cool. And but then I start learning stuff, like, and it's all intermixed. So I think that's great. But yeah, no, we did that to ourselves. I mean, and I say I mean America kind of set that up purposefully, so that would still be the byproduct of what we're seeing now. So yeah, it is different here in America than it is elsewhere, but that was done on purpose.
Right. Well, elsewhere we know, like, take it to the Middle East, where you'll get executed for that. Right. You know, or even still, like, they suppress women to a point in so many cases where Brian Crown Jewel is coming up
Thursday.
And in Crown Jewel, they're about to have one of their first women headlining, almost semi-headlining matches in Saudi.
Yes. They actually have 2 women's matches. They have a triple threat match featuring Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks. And they're also crowning a Queen's Crown tournament winner. So they're going to have 2 matches featuring women on this show, where the first couple events they didn't have any women on the show based on, you know, what was going on in Saudi. And, you know, with like, I guess the progression in their country where women are just now being able to drive and all this other stuff. They had a women's matchup a couple of years ago prior to the whole pandemic. And to the people at home, it wasn't fully received like the way it would be here in America. But there were periods during that match when where the women were walking out and they were throwing batteries at these girls. They were throwing bottles at them. And it's like, it's still kind of risky. Even the Saudi deal within itself is a risky situation as is. But it's like, it's trying to show like progression in their culture. And WWE is trying to be like that little bridge gap for them. You know what I'm saying? In the entertainment world. For me, I'm still uncomfortable for these ladies to go over there because, like you said, we don't know what could occur. Like, anybody who's a wrestling fan knows the story of what happened the last time they were there, where these guys were pulled off of a plane at gunpoint. You know what I'm saying? And they're performers. They're like, quote unquote, television stars. You know what I'm saying? So it's still like an awkward situation as a fan for me to even feel comfortable watching them perform there. It's like, you know, you could just save that for here in America. You know what I mean? And it's nothing against the Saudi people, but it's like, it'll be received better here than it would be out there. But I understand what they're trying to do with this partnership that they have with the Prince of Saudi Arabia.
Right. And well, besides money, but the point of bringing the point of bringing that up is
money. A lot of money.
Exactly. But the point of bringing it up is the world in some ways is finally opening themselves up to be more accepting towards others. You know, to be more accepting towards others and not necessarily others' plights, but just at least the advancement of equality. Whether we see it as like a small, minute percent, which in these times and cases it really is. It's like a very, very small, minute percent. And yeah, to see Saudi Arabia allowing women to wrestle, like the world is making steps forward. But then when you bring it to what Dave was talking about with the trans community and how there's a lot of infighting over there. Just like in all cultures, there's a lot of infighting amongst our people. Like, case in point, I'm still waiting for somebody to set up the fight with me and Jason Whitlock, but I digress. But it's
Dan, as soon as they send up the fight with me and James Dolan, you get that fight with Jason Whitlock. That's all I'm saying.
I guess that is a white on white crime, light skinned versus light skinned. But you know, but point is like there's still our own internal battles that we have to face. And what Dave spoke to within the special, TJ, was, you know, he spoke to that, like, even like you guys in your community caused my friend to commit suicide, which adds to why I say fuck Twitter, because Twitter is the most toxic place on the internet.
See, that's the thing. Like, only people within the community are allowed to speak out bad or say anything against the community, and nobody else on the outside, because that's not our business. Is that how they're treating this? Like, no one can speak ill of what's going on, what they're dealing with in their community. Like, we have no say in it whatsoever. It's just like, I guess, white people trying to talk about black people's social ills, I guess, so they're not allowed to speak about it. So the heterosexual community has no say in what the trans community and what their plight is. Is that the effect? Is that what they're talking about? Or are we just pointing out, you know, blemishes and faults that are happening in the community and nobody's doing nothing about it? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is it? Because it seems like nobody outside the trans community or the LGBTQ community can say anything about them and without fearing severe backlash for their comments in any way, shape, or form. They're coming for you, and they're coming for you hard body. They're coming for your check. They're coming for your sponsorships. They're coming for everything. They're shutting you down 1,000%. And is it right? No, because we had, like you said, Dan, it's a rainbow. Everybody's involved in that. So everybody should have a say in that, even whether you're hetero or not. You know what I'm saying? Because certain things do affect you as a community in general, outside of just being, trans or gay. Just like you said, being black. You know, Dave pointed out, he was like, and you even said it. He says, if something happens, you're gay until you're white again. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're going to see first. They're not going to ask, well, are you gay? Are you trans? They're not even going there with that. It is, you're white first, and then we work around it. So what are we getting into here?
Right.
Are we, you can't cancel everybody out or even shut down everybody when it concerns the group as a whole. Even they were talking about racism within the gay and trans community that they don't talk about. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to that Randy being an ass. I'm canceling all y'all. Where you at, Randy? I haven't seen your face in a minute. Yo, shout outs to C Double in the comments to Battlethon. Yeah, if y'all want to come on to get the spot is welcome. Hit me on Facebook and y'all can come on. But Jamal and Ramon, I want to throw this part to you guys in what we was just going in on is the fact that when you think about the LGBTQ plus community as a whole, well, first, before we get there, in all due respects, we all, like, we're not a group of people right now who dislikes or hates that community. We all know people within it, represent it. We got love for y'all. So I just want to make that clear. But within this point here, and Jamal and Ramon, I want y'all both to go in on this, especially when it's us black folks, right? We have so many parallels when it comes to the quote unquote struggle. There are too many parallels that we all go through. But when you bring it to some of the more like super righteous black folks, it's don't connect me. And excuse me, disclaimer. I forgot to put this disclaimer out there in the beginning of the show. We are going to use phrases and terms that we're not standing on them, but this is what people have been saying for years, and we're just using these phrases for educational purposes only, with no disrespect. What I'm about to say is what I'm not trying to disrespect in any way, but you will get many of black folks out there like, don't connect me with those fags over there. But yet, when you look at us historically, when you look at things like Stonewall, when you look at civil rights movements, they are not identical, but there are parallels that we could connect. That, yeah, we as a black folks are the most forgiving people out there. We are, we're in some respects the most loving, forgiving, especially when you add and tie in the church and you did it to me, but I the Lord says forgive you and all that, whatever. There are so many parallels between us that it's like, how do we not respect and sometimes step up and fight for those other sides? I just want y'all points of view on that, because it's just a question on a thought that I've had for a little while. Whichever way y'all want to go first.
Yeah, I'll start off. So I think the quickest way to suppress any struggle in this country is to keep all the struggles separate, and that's key. So we have to unite with every movement, with every struggle. There has to be some sort of unity in that. I think it's I think trying to achieve your goal alone is a recipe for failure. We have to be understanding that our struggles are somewhat identical, but there's a difference. in our struggles as well. And the struggles, the struggles for African Americans, I would say, and say a struggle for LGBTQ rights. There's some commonalities, but LGBTQ community it's not a race, it's not a people, and that is one of the things that sometimes gets conflated, and you'll see some sparring going back and forth about, well, whose struggle means what, and we gotta get past that. You got to find the common goals and unite behind it. I think that's where the complexity is that there's nuance to everything, and sometimes what you see in our battles of politics, especially in our conflicts of culture in this country, is that people want things to be simple, black and white, and life is not like that. Life is a whole conglomerate of fucking gray areas, man, and there's levels and complexity of things, and you have to be patient. You have to understand that and accept that there's some things you may not be comfortable with, but you have to be willing to have the conversation in order to take a step forward. That's my soapbox.
Ramon,
I think anytime you run the risk of putting something in danger when you can't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
The moment that you say this topic is unapproachable, it's whatever, like it's not to be touched, you can't fix whatever issues lie within that problem. So by silencing the whole conversation, like one of the most toxic aspects of this cancel culture is this whole idea of, well, you're not one of us, so you can't talk about us, right? And that, like I said, you run the risk of never being able to fix the issue, because if you can't have the conversation, then no movement forward is ever going to happen.
100%.
Yeah. And
my quick question is,
okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Hold on, TJ.
Go ahead,
Nick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, and TJ, to your point. So one of the things that a lot of any type of organization, like whether it's like business or it's like movements or it's like social groups, that there's a want to idealize the entire thing and just make it like the best. And that's a lot of why that like gatekeeping happens, is because they don't want to break the facade of just how this is right. This is beyond reproach in the way that we do what we're doing. And any kind of criticism that starts to come on to start, they worry that that's going to chip it away as opposed to make it better. You know what I mean? Like, and what starts to happen is you start getting zealots. You start getting people that are just 100% in on the ideal and ignoring any problems that are in there, and it starts getting ingrained in itself. And you do that for long enough, and then that's just kind of how it is. And again, anything that shows that it's not an ideal and just shows reality or shines the light on any flaws on it, they start shutting it down. They won't even hear it. You can't have that conversation. And but it starts out as, we have to put our best face on this just to even bring people in, or whatever the goal is. It just creates this fake facade that is not the reality of the situation, and it doesn't give it room to grow. It actually stifles itself, which is kind of a shame. But it's how you get zealots. It's how you get people storming capitals. It's how you get all of that, in the extreme. But that's the result of not being able to look inward and, see your own warts, for lack of a better term.
So my question was to the people of color in the LGBTQ community is, do you see yourself as Black first, or do you see yourself as part of the LGBT community first? Like, where's this distinction at? Because they're definitely separating the two when it comes to certain topics and subjects when they're being spoke about. You understand what I'm saying? So you are Black, and things affect you as a Black person in general, whether you're hetero or not. So how do you how do you differentiate the two, or is it just, are you combining both as one? Because it seems to me that they're separating the two on different subjects at different times,
Right.
and that's confusing to a lot of people.
Brian,
That's
how do you
very
see
confusing.
Well, I look at it like this, like kind of to answer what TJ was saying. I look at it like this, like first and foremost, I'm an American. I was born in America. My family is of Cape Verdean descent, which is off the coast of Africa. Trust me, there's people that we know out there who don't know, off the coast of Africa, so it's an African American descent. But it's also a place where during the slave trade, it was a port for slavery, which was predominantly run by the Portuguese. So technically, I'm an American, African American, Portuguese. I'm an American first because I was born here, but my roots will always be of the African American and Portuguese descent. So I always look at it like that. When I see the whole LGBT community thing, I look at it as you're more focused on your sexual orientation compared to what you are as a person. There's nothing wrong to be proud about your sexual orientation. That is perfectly fine. You love who you love. It is what it is. I was a bouncer at a gay nightclub for a couple of nights out of a week when I was a bouncer, you know, and I saw, like the flag says, it was a rainbow. I seen all colors. I seen Spanish. I seen Asian. I seen black. I seen white. I seen Filipino. I seen them all. And in those communities, what I observed is they were always celebrating the pride and the fact that they're open in their sexual orientation, which was cool. But when Dave broke it down in the show, that key point where he said, you know, you're gay up until the point where you got to pull the race card. To me, that's the issue. Like he said, he goes, I like the old school gays. And I'm kind of with him on that same aspect. It's like, if you're gay and you're proud, be proud. Do you. Whatever floats your boat or finds your lost remote, go for it. You know what I'm saying? But when you start wishy-washy in that situation, it's like, okay, now you're playing both sides of the fence. And that's where I feel like more of the drama comes in. Because it's like, you know, you can be gay up until a point, but like you said, when it comes to that point where, you know, you got to make a choice, you're going to go back to the race. You know, so now you're fighting two different battles. You went from fighting one battle to now fighting the two. So I was always like, you know, stand your ground on one thing. If you're going to be on that one thing, fight that one battle. You know, it's great to have acceptance from, you know, the supporting races out there or your core race or whatever, but don't try to wishy-washy on how you feel at that moment in time. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to play that card, play it all the way. You know what I'm saying? That's just my opinion on the situation. There's nothing against it if you want to work either side, but for me, it's like, you know, pick your lane, fight for your lane, and then, you know, if there's people trying to come up with you, pull them up with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. like Jay was saying earlier, you know, when you're trying to unite two situations at one time, one of them is bound to fail. You know what I'm saying? Fight hard for one, but if you get acceptance from another one and they're willing to help you and support you, you know, accept that acceptance, bring them along with you in this situation. But you know what I mean? Like, to me, my problem, not really my problem, but my gripe is the fact when you want to play both sides of the fence on a situation where, you know, you could just be one or the other.
Right. Now, Nick, and shout outs to JP, finally came through in the building. What's up, JP?
Hey, what's up?
What's up, JP?
But Nick, I wanna ask you, because you tend to be more of the historian on just in general things on the Garbled. When did this thing seem to feel like it just started? Where the differentiation between, like, where do you think this of the LGBTQ plus community is like sexual orientation as the identifier over your cultural background? Like,
so and if I was going to hazard a really uneducated guess, I would say it would be the AIDS epidemic. So when that started, and real brief history, when that whole thing started, that was labeled as, and where you get all the conspiracy theories, as a plight on the gay community. Specifically gay men, I think, was the original diagnosis. Like, oh no, This is just a disease you have if you're gay.
Like, they called it the gay disease.
Yeah, exactly. Or the gay plague or something along those lines. Yeah. And that was specifically, and that's where you get your conspiracy theories, like, oh, the government created this and specifically to wipe out a group of people. So you got a lot of people that had to kind of circle the wagons there and really fight, because it was not only just social injustice that was kind of already there, and just that's another topic that nobody spoke about, but everybody had to kind of get together and really get their heads around this and fight this with every tool that they had. Trying to get any kind of representation, also educating the community as a whole, and everybody just got so tight that it was so pressing that it kind of became the whole focus. So I think that's where you started it, and then it continued on through there, and it's evolved obviously as not being a response to like a health epidemic. It's taken on a whole new identity. But if I was going to guess, if I was going to point in America anyway, that's where that started.
All right, because I mean, just the parallels in this. And what up, B-Rob, and is doing his Walmart Chronicles live on the show with us.
Yeah, man, that's what I gotta do.
Cross promotion, good job.
Watch it for the baby.
Y'all gonna cancel me for calling in from Walmart?
Should have been at Target.
Yes, we are.
So you should have been at Target.
I have nothing. I have nothing to add. I just wanted to show my face and show you that I was in Walmart to do it live because I can do that. So I'm gonna take my exit because I got some barbecue I gotta go make.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for popping in, good brother.
Hey man, I appreciate all y'all, and
Yes,
y'all keep doing the good work.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, we'll get up soon. All right. Now, all right. This one actually, I was gonna spin to something, but this is for you. Let me try to find who wrote this. Okay, this is from Dave Ross. He's in HHDG. And I think this is to you, Brian. He said, I have a question. To the gentleman who considers himself American first, then African-American with Portuguese descent, has he experienced the Black experience in America?
Yes, I've grown. I mean, like, if we want to be stereotypical, I was raised by a single mother. My father left when I was 4. I don't talk to the dude. Yes, no, obviously I've experienced the experience of a Black man in America. I get prejudged everywhere I go. I'm 6'4". I fit the description 90% of the time. You know what I mean? Like, I live in a small state of Rhode Island, but yet there are subsections where it is highly African-American populated. And there's also areas where it's highly white populated. Even though we are considered a democratic state, we do have a lot of Republicans here. And I've been in places where I've been, racially profiled. I've been stopped by cops. I've been pulled over, had guns put to my face, and found nothing in my vehicle. It happens everywhere. As much as people think, it's a, like a hood thing or whatever, it happens all over the country. You know what I mean? And trust me, I got this exact, not question, but like this exact profiling recently. And Dan, you saw the comments over the fact that, I stuck up for a Caucasian group of men because a Black man said something about their sneakers, as if white people don't buy sneakers in this world and are not part of the sneaker culture. You know what I'm saying? Just because I'm not Mr. Black, I'm black, y'all. I'm black, y'all. I'm black, and I'm black, y'all. Like, I'm an American. I was born here. This is what I know. And obviously, it's not that I'm Mr. Flag waving American, but I was born in America. I'm going to represent my country. If I'm in the Olympics, you know what I'm saying? I'm the Black guy in the Olympics. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the American. Like, we got to look at what America is too. America was a country that was stolen by the white man. You know what I'm saying? And it was all due respect, Nick. I'm not trying to be offensive when I say that, but
you're absolutely right. So
historically, it was a country stolen by a white man, by white people. You know what I'm saying? They came, they kicked the Indians out, took over their land. Here's some smallpox.
Yeah. And let's keep it real. Many of us were already here also.
Facts.
Many of us were already here also.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hey, shout outs, Dave, for the comment. But, yeah. I mean, if that ain't the Black experience for your ass.
I love chicken. I love watermelon. I'm engaged to a Caucasian woman. How much more Black do you want me to be? All right? I ain't popping out kids left and right, but damn. Like,
there's still time. There's still time.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I still got time.
That is Black for that ass. But, damn, man, I lost the point where I was trying to spin. Oh, no. It was off of the whole dynamic of like identifying with your sexual preference as almost as like how we identify cultures by way of black, white, you know, whatever. It's, I mean, it that kind of nonsense to me connects where, you know, you're black, you're white, or you're Muslim. Like you're not, you understand what I'm saying, Jamal? Like you're not from Saudi Arabia, you're not from Cameroon, you're not from, you know, say fucking like Dubai or Abu Dhabi. No, you're Muslim. And people do the same thing too when it comes to your religious background. They lump the two together. They lump it together as this is one big cultural society under a belief.
Dan, they
But
lump
they
it
didn't get,
together because it's convenient to do.
yeah.
It's
There you
very
go.
convenient to do. It's about convenience. Everybody wants it to be a package. They want to put everybody in a box, and that's it. You're just labeled to your box, and that's your box. On to the next person and what box they fit in. It's all about compartmentalization. I don't know why I can't say that word, but that's what they want to do. It's the same thing with the census. You got to check off a box, right? Your age, your race, your identity, all that. They want to put it in a nice nifty box to check it off, so you can be represented for what you fit in that box, and then they can easily, you know, adjust to where it's going and what they want to control. That's
Right.
what it boils down to.
Right.
Hey,
Now,
TJ,
go ahead.
real quick, just to follow up on what you said. Would you redo the census so it's just like, hey, how many people live here? And like that's it. Like just a straight count.
Why does it need to be? I mean, I fill out job applications all the time, and they ask you all these other things outside of being in a job because they want to make sure they have the correct number of people of color or minorities working in the workplace. And I get that because some places will only hire certain people to do, you know, a majority of certain people, and they don't want to be looked at as being a racist type company or what have you. But if it's a population thing, then why not? There's 5 people living here. There's 8 people living here. There's 2 people living here.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with anything else but the amount of people living in the space. I agree with you on that. Yeah. Why we got to get into the demographics of who lives where and why they live where. One has nothing to do with the other. If we're doing a head count, the census is allegedly is supposed to be just a literal head count of how many people live in your area. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think that's what it is,
how it
though.
was intended.
Yeah, I think though, if you just do a basic population count without breaking down to demographic stuff, you can't track progress or areas of need. So it's complex. Like I said before, everything else there's nuance and complexity to all these struggles regarding race, culture, and sexuality and stuff. So it's not. There is no easy answer. It's not an easy fix. It's hard work. And you know, we live in a tired country, so these things become very difficult.
Let me ask you this: will it ever be fixed though? Like due to the enormity and the complexity of it, because this is like they said, the melting pot, right? So you have a lot of integration, and now we're seeing a lot of mixed race couples and things of that nature. So when will it, you know? Will it ever be to get to the point where we can look past that and just see people as people?
Yeah, it can. Will it ever be fixed? I don't know. Can it be better? It can be better. And so, that's pretty much my answer. Yeah.
I think it would take something honestly, we'll stop fighting with each other when we're giving somebody else to fight. So like, let aliens come down and threaten the planet or something like that. Like it would have to be something where everybody has to put all their bullshit aside, so that
it's going to be that dramatic. It's going to be that dramatic, though, right?
Typically, that's why
for a quick fix.
Typically, war used to do that, which is why we have such a heavy military-industrial complex. But now, even folks are getting apathetic towards war. So.
Yeah, and I was going to say it's gonna take it would take something of galactic proportions for us as a world to finally say, yo, we got to stand up for each other.
Mm-hmm.
It really does take something like that. And ironically, in the country that we live in, We already have that fight in front of us. Can any of y'all guess how?
COVID?
The government.
What do you mean?
See that?
Yeah.
The government itself. But if y'all have been listening and understood how I stood on this COVID thing, and we're gonna bring Qatar is here, but I'm gonna get her. We're gonna get her points of views on this before we actually get to the actual cancellation thing conversation. But COVID, all right. I'm a skeptic in some ways. I'm not conspiracy theorist against COVID. COVID is real. I know people who've died from it, but it does feel like, because here's the other word that gets thrown around when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community, connective tissue right here. Is damn it, I just fucking lost my point. Is that there's an agenda.
Oh.
The word agenda. And many of people feel skeptical about this vaccine, about what is the agenda behind wanting everybody to take this, when people with perfect immune systems are doing just fine. Like, case in point, my daughter took the shot. She chose to. My wife didn't influence her. I didn't influence her. She chose it because she just like, you know what? I want to get it over with, whatever. And she wants to compete in sports in high school. And in New York, the way that they're barring down everything, doing the separation of, ooh, look at you people over here who got it. You could do this. You people who don't have it, y'all can't do nothing. It's those little things that government does like that to keep us divided and separated. It's the whole red versus blue party, which is, we all know, it's one collective on the same path with just different ideas. Republican, Democrats, they're all on the same fucking team. They all go out and hang out and drink after work, downtown DC, U Street, wherever in DC. I seen it when we did a album release party for Tracy Lee in DC, and there were mad people in politics in that spot that we were at, yucking it up, drinking, blah blah blah. And then there's other things just the government does that we would be here all day just talking about those in general. So why I say we have that fight already as a people. Why, case in point is Black Lives Matter rallies. And we all pointed the finger at Obama. How come you didn't do more for us? How come you didn't do more for us? Let's remember, he wasn't the president of black people. He is the president of America. But yet, as a black man, some would say it would behoove you to speak up about your people. And there's just so many other things that we could go down the laundry list of history within the American government that we as a people could all say, yo, you as a Klansman, it's like, yo, you're not getting the same shit as me, the Black Panther. We're not getting the same type of treatment here. Not saying the hate part is separate. Those are personal ideals and beliefs and shit that you go through. But when we're all under the same country umbrella, same government, we all got to follow the same rules. And there's so much shit that we could look at that I say, it don't take aliens. We got it already. It should take. I mean, I ain't fighting my boy Thanos. I'm joining his team. That's my man's in them. But it does take something of that proportion. But Katara, did you see Chappelle's special yet?
Not as of yet. I'm a little bit too busy. I am honestly staying out of that conversation because I don't even know. I heard a little bit. Someone said I don't know what's going on. Okay,
so don't go no further.
Say this.
Don't dig yourself into a hole that you're not. Don't respond to something.
No. I wasn't. What I was gonna say is, people say what honestly, comedians always say stuff. I'm not saying he said something controversial. Comedians will always say controversial stuff. That's what some of them do. Who cares? If you don't like it, just move on. You know what I'm saying? Well, I don't. It's so much to choose to watch. So don't watch it. You're just giving it more energy. If you don't like it, you're giving it more energy when you keep talking about it. Now, I don't know what he said. Like I said, I don't know what he said, so I'm not digging a hole or anything. Just and for those of us who did watch it, and people are and you're not, and people are saying silliness, ignore that too. Just move on. That's how I said. But yeah, go back to you, Dan.
Gotcha.
What?
I'm gonna keep muting you because your thing is buzzing, or just mute yourself while you don't talk because your background is buzzing, Katara.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ramon.
What happened to sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? Like, I feel like this.
Go ahead.
And Chappelle hit on it perfectly. Like, this whole there's an entire generation of people out there that are so brittle, they fall apart.
It's emotional. It's emotional, bro.
Like, I grew up under that rule. My mom would tell me, listen, as long as they don't put their hands on you, you're fine. So,
well, I got something. I got something towards that. Whoever wants to add on, JP, I want you to add on to that too, because you are the advanced age brother on the show. I didn't make jokes. You are just the elder statesman of the show. But we grew up differently, and it's clear as day that we all grew up differently. And JP's gone. But we all in that era of the sticks and stones may break my bones, words will never hurt us. But nowadays, I mean, you take it to the late 2000s where, and mad that JP just left because we talk about this a lot. We grew up in the era where our neighbors can check you while you're in the street doing wrong.
Yeah.
We grew up in the era where, yes, I was the kid, 6 foot, the man who right now is 6 foot, 335 pounds of I could whoop your fucking ass, used to get punked and bullied in elementary school. But what did I do after? Hold on, y'all. And what did I do with that at that time? I was upset. I got sad until I whooped one person's ass. Then it became you can never do shit to me again. But it took a lot of mental strength and mental fortitude of not wanting to break down, not wanting to lose. Where nowadays, I would say from the early 2000s to now, it became a thing of just speak about that it's not right. Just talk about that it's not right. Don't do nothing about it. Don't go punch that person in the mouth. Which in further respect of we're in an advanced life, advanced stage in our lives, and we are of different mentalities, which we're going to transition the whole length of time and thought processes in a little while by way of John Gruden. But we are of such different mentalities now where it's like we've changed, where we understood, you know what, that type of thinking then might not have been wrong, but yet it still gave us a level of toughness to be able to say, you know what, fuck that shit. Fuck what they're saying, fuck what they're walking about. And it became, you can't say nothing to my kid. Don't talk to my kid on the same block. It became, don't talk to my kid. Don't say, yeah, but your kid is playing with my kid, and I want to make sure we're all good. I don't give a fuck. You didn't give birth to him. You didn't give birth to her. Okay. Don't say nothing to my child. Go ahead.
Two things there. Back in the day, for if you guys remember Andrew Dice Clay, he said some racy stuff, and there were protests against that. I know that he went on a certain talk show, and a female who was head of the band just was not on because of him. She just said, I'm not working while he's on. So it did happen back where we were. It was just not a lot of people knew about it because we didn't have social media. Number one. Number two, there was still, like Dan said, there still were bullies and stuff, and people took it a different way. We didn't see that. I know that there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes in the school that I went to, but nobody saw that because it was common to keep things hush under. That's another point that people need to touch on. There were a lot of things that went on that bullying, both due to teachers acting stupid or other stuff, but it was swept under the rug. I just wanted to say that now it's not. Obviously, nowadays they don't. If somebody has a phone, boom, it's there. Yes,
but that's different. But that's indifferent to the whole sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
So here's what I want to say. That all started when people started getting into this PC thing called political correctness.
Yes.
When political correctness came along, you had to shut down everything. It's just like you couldn't say certain words anymore. Like you can't call people retarded anymore. You can't call small people midgets. You can't. They started, disbanding words, and because the words had meaning. So all of that stuff became a political correctness culture. That eventually led to the canceling culture, which was just political correctness on steroids. So back in the early 80s when I grew up, you could say whatever you wanted. However, you got offended, you took it, you absorbed it, you either dished it back out or you kept your mouth shut and you moved on. And that was it, the bottom line. Or you got into a fight because you didn't like what the person was saying to you. Nowadays, that stuff does not exist. There's no tough skin, take it on the chin, turn the other cheek, what the case may be. I grew up, on the back of the bus playing the dozens with people, on the way to junior high and high school. And there was nothing off limits. Not your mom, not your pops, not your sister, nobody. Everybody was getting waylaid. And if you couldn't respond back or you weren't quick enough with the response, you just took that out. You know what? Yeah. But everybody laughed about it and went home at the end of the day. Nobody went crying to, the school principal, the counselor, none of this other stuff. Bullying has been around since the beginning of time. Nobody was killing themselves over getting bullied back in the day. Wow. Not to my knowledge. And I've seen kids being bullied 1,000 times. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm seeing.
But hold on, TJ. But that's
from my perspective.
Yeah. And respect to your perspective, but the mental anguish that went on in a lot of people did drive people to suicide, because there's a lot of it still was like the keeping up with the Joneses. Some kids that we would roast certain people that or take it to the 2000s. You cut up on some kid who came into school with a trench coat trying to act like Batman, and then all of a sudden that kid turned into trench coat mafia, came around, turned it into something else because they didn't know how to handle it. Because they didn't just have the mental fortitude to be able to handle it. You talk about back of the bus. I came up in junior high school. We used to do some shit called demolition on the back of the bus, where it was most of the badass kids with it would just be like a quick sneak attack. Everybody jumped on them, pounded on them, but then we picked them up and then that was it. And it was either ha 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 or you might fight again after that one-on-one. We all grew up with different levels of toughness in how we were brought up.
Definitely the times change as with the generations.
Right. It was more of how you handled it as a person and as an individual. You know what I'm saying? It was more, but nowadays I'm okay with the stage that we're at now in life, because you know what? We are now allowing people to be able to speak up more about what they're going through. We're allowing people to express themselves, a lot more openly, because even still with what Katara mentioned, a lot of the life in the 80s and the 90s, you kept that shit shut because you had the pressures of, you didn't want to embarrass the family. You didn't want to embarrass yourself. You didn't want to be perceived as such and such. Bringing it back to the LGBT plus community. Why do you think the thing coming out became such a thing? Because people of that era with no filter, and it didn't matter. And even more back in our era, a random person would come and jump you and beat you up just because they didn't like your shoe color, and they would get away with it. It also happens less now because niggas go to jail for nothing. I spent 4 hours in a holding cell for doing a drift turn in my car. You know what I'm saying? Like, niggas go to jail for nothing, Brian.
I'll say it like this: when TJ brought up the term PC, the political correctness, right? Whenever I hear that term, I always say to myself, if it's going to be politically correct, make it into a law. You know what I'm saying? If it's that big of an issue, turn it into a law. You know what I'm saying? We know how the internet works when it comes to algorithms and stuff like that, right? There's obviously, like when Facebook shut down about a week or so ago, they were able to shut shit down for everybody in the world. What was it, like 200 and something billion people around the world all lost service or whatever? We all know that they were in there messing around with the algorithm. Block keywords. If you guys are so concerned about what's being posted on your site, block certain words. Block fuck, block shit, block faggot, block nigga, block all of that stuff.
Those words make money. Those words make money, though, Brian.
And that's the thing. And that's the problem. It's like we want to talk about it and make it seem like it's this politically correct thing, but they're not doing anything about it. You know what I'm saying? They have the ability to take this stuff off of their programming, off their apps, off their pages, websites. You guys have the ability to do so. If it's that big of a problem, just block it. You guys have the ability to do that. And like I said, if it's politically correct, then politically change it. Throw it on a ballot. Remove words from the dictionary. Do all this stuff. If that's the extent that we are going to in a quote-unquote society, if you have the ability to do so, why not do that? No, they're going to leave it so the controversy stays and people can sit there and talk about it.
I wanted to go to you, Nick, because I see you brewing. this speaks but to a point I agree, but that speaks directly to America's quote unquote foundation of free speech.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, you're going to, I love the sentiment, but you're going to have some extreme problems with the First Amendment. You're unfortunately you can't make that law now. PC, the political correct thing, did originally come around because they were trying to hold politicians to a certain standard. So that's why it's politically correct. Like it would be political suicide to say that thing. It came out into society. But that to me is just one other system of control, especially when the internet started really exploding and social media started really exploding. The fact that things like cancel culture came around where it's not like an organization that's saying like boycott something, right? This business because of their practices, and we should all boycott it to create real change. Now it's just people policing each other and trying to keep everybody down. And one other thing I was going to say, Ramon, when you said sticks and stones, when did that go away? It went away right around the time we started advising people to worry about the things they can control. Is it right around the same time, which is just another system of control? Because now we're just telling you, hey, man, it's out of your hands. You can't even stress about it. Just relax. Don't think about this. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. You know what I mean? Like it's all of this stuff winds up being systems of control that we're doing to ourselves. And yeah, if every time you get triggered, right, by something like a comedian, you have to take to the airways and get everybody on your side and start a coalition of just angry people online, whether it's for, clout, content, it fits your money stream, whatever it is, that is all just throwing, smoke at something that could actually maybe be fixed if we just had a conversation about it. So I see it all as systems of control, and that all started coming in around the same time we started losing our individual ability to deal with this situation.
And that's where, excuse me. And that's where I point the finger at a place like Twitter. Y'all know how much I hate it, how much I dislike Twitter, whatever type of action word you want to apply to it. That's how I feel about it. I just use Twitter for select few things here and there. But that's where a place like Twitter comes into play with this whole quote unquote cancel culture. This is where it started, because we're in the age of, we all come from the era where only the news had the voice. Only the newspapers had a voice. Only television and reporters had a voice. News has always been crafted to speak towards a certain issue in our time, no matter what. But also within news, of our era in the news, you also didn't get much opinion-based news like we do now from Fox and CNN and all of that. Before, it used to be man shot on the corner of Van Buren Street and Richmond Terrace, and more information will proceed as time goes on. Next story. A woman was struck by a car shopping out with her child on 96th Street and 3rd Avenue in Manhattan. The woman was such and such years old. We got her name or whatever. This is what happened. Then the next story. A lot less opinion-based stuff was out at that time. Gift and curse of the internet is everybody has a voice. That's where I find the beauty in what we all do as podcasters in some sort of way. Jamal, you as a filmmaker, we all have a voice to express what we want. But with said expression of the voice, you kind of got to go along and take how it's being given. And not saying take it as far as accepting it, but allowing it to be expressed, because you got to allow it to be expressed because you don't want yourself to be stifled. Now, after what you do with it after that is totally up to you. And that's where the piling on comes on, because, hey, I don't agree. I love Michael Jordan sneakers. Dan said he fucking can't stand Jordans, but I love Jordans. Yo, I love Jordans too. Let's attack this man. Here comes the elbow drops off the top rope with I love Jordan sneakers conversations, right? And this is where we now get into the quote unquote cancellation of the conversation. I gotta keep it real. And I'm gonna give you brothers credit. And first and foremost, before we get there, hello, Cammy. Me and her now.
Hey, Cammy.
Full transparency. I have nothing against this woman, though we've had our own internet issues. But she has been a long time supporter of the Starting Five. She's been in all of our Facebook groups. I'm gonna call it like I see it. She can be one of the biggest trolls on the internet, but an intelligent one. So I'm just giving respect and love to you first and foremost. Like I said, we had out, but that shit is dead in the past. How are you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm good. I'm excited to be on this. I was at a brunch, so I was like worried it'll be over by the time I got back, but I'm happy. So I'm good.
Good. Well, we're getting into the now cancellation part. And now how I wanted to set the table is because we'll bring up a little bit of R. Kelly. We'll bring it up. This is mainly by way of what you've seen with John Gruden. Now, John Gruden recently was tied up in the Redskins, formerly known as Redskins organization drama, where they had sexual assault allegations and sexual misconduct allegations going on in their organization. But Gruden got caught up in this because of old text messages of 10 years ago were laid out. And that, to me, is just the tip of the iceberg of what's going on. But in some people's eyes, they see him being fired from the Redskins as a quote-unquote cancelization. They see him being canceled.
The Raiders.
From the I said from the Raiders, him getting fired from the Raiders, they see that as him being canceled in some sort of a way. But to keep it 1,000 with y'all, I personally think R. Kelly is the first true person to realistically get canceled. The first true person. Hold on, TJ.
Nah.
I think it's the first true person to really, in our time, the first true person to get canceled, because that man is about to possibly spend the rest of his life in jail.
What about Kevin Spacey? Kevin Spacey hasn't been heard from since God knows when.
He's working though. He's
working. I haven't seen none of his stuff.
He's
so
just not
if you say,
that's where this is where I talk about cancellation. And the problem with R. Kelly is we've known this shit for 25, almost 30 years. And this is what comes into play where I've given it up to the Garble podcast and Bria, who's not here with us, but she's definitely a valued member of their show, where you guys transitioned cancel into more of it's really call out culture to what people are doing, where people assume that they're canceling people, but it's really calling out the nonsense. But yet, in some respects, it transitioned from what really people are trying to dismiss as cancel culture now. They're trying to dismiss it in that way, in my opinion, because they realize the lack of effectiveness that their voices on Twitter have yet to really play. Now, some people here and there have lost jobs, lost things. Let's all remember Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart, you know what, ended up backing out of the Oscars by choice because people attacked him for shit that he already apologized for. But yet, he's still working. He's still doing his thing. Nick Cannon, they tried to quote unquote cancel him because he made what many people would think is true statements about the Jewish community. You know, some people believe in what he said, but because we all know partially the Jewish community runs the entertainment, they thought that he was canceled. Wild 'N Out just got renewed, and that man is still thriving because you didn't cancel him. You just put him on pause for a few minutes. We mentioned Tommy Dreamer, Brian. Tommy Dreamer made statements about a plane ride, what is known as the plane ride from hell, that he wasn't even on. He wasn't even on it, but made statements in defense of his friend Ric Flair that put him off of Impact Wrestling, put him off of Busted Open Radio, because he made his opinion. And I personally, I disagreed with his opinion.
Me too.
You know, but the cancel culture itself, and I'm gonna throw it to you, Cammy, and I want you, Garble Brothers, to go. The cancel culture itself, it's real, but it's not as effective as people think it is.
So I don't think it's real. I actually disagree. Well, I think there are very specific examples of what's truly being canceled. Canceled being like your money flow is stopped, it's gone. And like people think of canceled like, oh, he's not getting work, but he is getting work, you know, still. So I like when I think of R. Kelly, his music is still being played. Like technically, if he wasn't in jail, he would have access to his music.
His music just sold over 500. It went up 500% of wherever he was. They just said recently.
Right. And so like he's still like if he wasn't in prison, he would still have access to this money. He wouldn't stop. Nick Cannon also, he was still on the Mask. What is that show where they have or the suit and they sing?
The Masked Singer. Yeah.
He was actually still hosting that, and he just got a talk show, which I haven't watched, but it was. So I was flicking channels and it was on the guide. So for me, being canceled is truly having a money cash flow stop. Like you cannot maintain your life. So I think of Colin Kaepernick when he started to kneel and he was pulled out of the games and they eventually like got rid of him. I don't know what team he was on, but they got rid of him off the team and his cash flow stopped. He wasn't working anymore. It's not just like a slowing down. It's not just like, you know, a pause. Another one that I thought of is the Dixie Chicks is actually what I think is like maybe one of the first group of people who got canceled when they were like, you know, fuck Bush back in 2004 or something.
Yep.
And they weren't heard of until Beyonce was like, no, you guys can like play with me on the Country Music Awards or something like that. So that's what I think of when I think of cancel culture. People who literally disappear completely. And their cash flow, their ability to work and to feed themselves is completely paused. So that's what I think of when I think of that term. And I agree with you. You said call out culture. And I think that's what a lot of it really is. It's like call out culture. It's people just criticizing someone, not necessarily stopping their cash flow. And when I also think of stopping someone's cash flow, for example, like I can't cancel Dave Chappelle, because I don't really consume Dave Chappelle. And it was never really a conscious choice. I started stopping listening to him years ago because I didn't like some of his stand-up regarding women and stuff like that. So it wasn't like a conscious decision necessarily, but it was just like, I'd rather not hear this. So I can't cancel someone who I've never consumed. I had canceled Kanye West. You guys know, TJ and Dan, you guys have heard about the long history that I might have with Kanye, and I was a Kanye stan, and then I noticed some stuff that didn't match what he was doing, and that's when I stopped consuming him, because I was paying money. I was listening to his music. I was buying his music, and then I was like, let me fully stop this so that he does not get access to my cash anymore. So that's what I think of when I think of cancel culture. I think most people are calling out, or most people are like creating this performative action where they're like, let me create this illusion to people looking at me thinking I'm like canceling someone, or I'm calling someone out, I'm criticizing them, but I'm truly still consuming them, just not in a more public way.
Right. And see, that's where I think a lot of this truly has to lie, is that people want the masses, like everybody wants a movement. That's where we've been in within this last at least 5 to 10 years, is that everybody wants a movement and be a face of a movement, because they've seen how the growth of the Black Lives Matter movement became a thing. Now, even I personally had my own issues within that. It was just by way of their website. But everybody wants to be the face and the charge of something that everybody can raise their fist to, hey, let's go. But realistically, the decision is just personal. It's within you. Like you mentioned, you stopped consuming Kanye. I never bought a Jordan sneaker in my life. Did that mean I canceled? I can't cancel Jordan because I just never consumed it. Like you said.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's what's. Go ahead, Cammy.
Oh, I was going to say, I think a lot of people too, they want to go viral. Like that's a really big, like people want to make that next tweet thread that gets like, 10,000 retweets and 20,000 likes. So people are willing to say things on social media with the hope that it makes them go viral. But ultimately, so they're willing to say that, but like what they do in real life, because there is like sort of a curtain. I don't really call it a facade for everyone, but there's a curtain between your real life and social media. So they're willing to say that stuff, but hide what they're doing in their own personal real lives.
Perception versus reality.
Yeah. Correct.
Go ahead, Ramon and Nick.
See, I have a problem calling it cancel culture. Like, it's not a culture. There's nothing that's being handed down. There's nothing that is. When you use the word culture and you think of what it means, it's something that's a tradition. It's something that's passed down. It's something that's moved along. So, like, I've always had a problem with calling it cancel culture per se. But yeah, like one of the things that we talked about on our show was like, don't call it cancel culture, call it call out culture. Like, I'm going to call you out for your faults. And if we're going to be realistic about it, like like a lot of you pointed out, you can't cancel somebody that you don't consume. Mm-hmm. So like this whole idea, I don't know, this whole idea that you're effectively trying to, and somebody else said it earlier, that it's almost like it's done for virtue signaling, where I'm doing this because it's going to get me the most likes. I'm doing this because it's going to get me the most hits on whatever media I'm consuming.
They're creating a wave, basically. They're trying to create a wave that's going to overpower anything anybody else has to say and just wash over that particular person's comments or how they feel about that subject.
Yeah. And it's if it's authentic and it's not just for literally likes and views and clout, if it's authentic, it should be used to say, hey, this action needs to be corrected. This needs, this can be a moment that we can actually all learn from this person's mistake, especially if that person really understands it, after being educated on it, and can actually, correct their own action, at least apologize for it, make changes in their life, and be public about it. If it's done authentically, it can be really beneficial for everybody. And then also that person gets to continue to have like a career. And I'm not talking about egregious thing. I'm not talking like R. Kelly or anything like that. I'm just talking about the things that people do get called out on, where they are legitimately like ignorant mistakes that they've made, and if they can grow from it and show others they can grow from it, that's great. If it's stuff just getting thrown out there because somebody wants to get a few more followers, then yeah, that's not really beneficial at all. But yeah, it should be looked at as a correction as opposed to just like, oh, you did that one thing, you're out.
Chappelle brought up a good point with the feminist movement and how, you know, they're wearing the hats and everything, but when Black women's voices were being ignored, like, how can you continue on with the feminist movement if you're not being inclusive to everybody that's involved with the movement? You're only just involving a certain group or a certain demographic in the movement.
Right. Dan, I just wanted to say, and good points, everybody, because it's not really cancel culture. This, like I said, cancel culture, call out culture has been going on since the days of the Bible. If we do history, we can all, like, each era, there was some type of call out. If you notice the era before us, or maybe when some of us were born, i.e. me, when Muhammad Ali said he wasn't going to fight in the Vietnam, they stopped his money, as Cammie would put it. I think, Cammie, that was you that said it. They stopped his money when he did that. Now he was able to so there's just it's not, you know, it's just a name some people are saying just to be like, oh, you know, if you don't, and it goes back to what I was saying, if you disagree, if you don't agree with what someone's calling out, then ignore him. Don't call it a fancy name and then try to shun them. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, good point. There's some people are doing it just for speaking, just to get clout or whatever. But there's some genuine people who will not do things. I remember, and I forgot what rapper said that Black women don't have any. He feels so sorry for Black women because Black women don't have any role models, only Black men. And that was just number ignorant. And so I said, okay. And I was in a store and I saw his clothes, and my son wanted a hat from him. I said, no, I am not buying something for somebody who's spreading ignorance. So that's not, and to me, I'm not canceling anybody. I'm saying I'm not spending my money where it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with deciding where you spend your money. And that was the point I wanted to bring up.
Yeah. But that's where, but that goes back to where mentioning again, they want to use the term call out culture. I mean, cancel culture, when it realistically should be call out culture. And I'm going to keep it, in my opinion, real, where this cancel culture thing, people are trying to say that this was a right wing created. This wasn't right wing created. This was not right wing this was Twitter created. This was people with a voice, with a newfound voice to life, expressing themselves and wanting to create a movement towards something. And now the problem that I have behind this is these people who participate in said culture. A lot of you guys mentioned it before, where you could still, you're not stopping some of these people money, and yet they're still working, they're still doing their thing, which to me, again, it shows how ineffective what they tried is. But the correction part of it, being able to see how a person changed, and this is where I'm going to Jamal and Brian and JP, because this involves his Raiders. As I mentioned, John Gruden, people would try to say that he was being quote unquote canceled nowadays because he got fired by being embroiled in a situation that happened over 10 years ago. Now, what he said within those messages, totally wrong. But we don't know John Gruden to the level of, did he correct himself over that time? Well, I had this conversation with JP pre-show where JP, and he's going to express his point in a minute. His camera's not working, y'all. That he hasn't shown any signs of change. And then when you think about these people who participate in said cancel culture, it's almost like they want you gone, and you are always that, And like it feels like they don't want you to allow you the opportunity to change and grow from the situation that you put yourself in.
Right. So I think we have to be one of the things that you know I have a problem with. We have to be careful with the labels that we put on this thing. Calling stuff cancel culture, call out culture, and don't forget the third component, which is consequence culture. If you do something stupid, you know, there's going to be consequences to it. The whole cancel culture thing, in my opinion, it's not something new. It's just that the tools are now available to the masses that weren't there before to be able to do this type of thing. And I think what happens, John, why a lot of folks say it started with Republicans, or I would say the right wing, it's because a lot of those conservative Christian groups were doing this going back to the 70s and 80s, like Focus on the Family and Jerry Falwell and all those preachers. You know, they lost their shit on Disney when they found out Ellen was a lesbian, and they tried to, you know, they hit Disney in the pocket. They tried to get ABC to cancel the Ellen Show. So this stuff is just it's not new. It's just every generation there's a different way or different means to do this thing, and to the internet tools now more people have the ability to do this stuff, and everyone, you know, everyone has an opinion, but not everybody's opinion needs to be heard. But now with the internet, everybody's opinion can be heard, and so this is the life that we're living in now. As far as consequence culture, we got to look at folks like Mel Gibson. Like he should have known that was coming. And also with you know, folks like John Gruden, there's going to be some sort of penalty or penance for these actions. And I say it doesn't mean you got to kill these people forever or whatever, but if you're costing somebody money, you have to expect they're going to do what's best for their wallet. Now, keeping John Gruden on was going to hurt the NFL brand. Those guys still, the people in the NFL, they still love John Gruden. They don't think, shit, you got caught, bro. You're going to cost some money. You got to go. That's it. They don't feel any sort of way. They don't think he did anything wrong or whatever. It's just if what he did hits them in the wallet, that's why they're putting him to the side. Now, I do believe you have to give people a chance to be sorry and people a chance to change. But do I think John Gruden's different than 10 years ago? My personal opinion, he's a 50-something-year-old man. It's hard to change that. You are who you are for your life at that point. It's really hard. But like I forgot which NFL draft it was. They tried to hit one of those players for tweeting some racist shit when he was 17. I'm not even gonna tell you the dumb shit I did when I was 17. I can't cancel that kid who is now a 22-year-old man for what he did when he wasn't even paying me bills. You know what I mean? He was living in his family's house as a kid. I can't label that person forever. Folks like John Gruden, it's like, man, you should know better, man. At this point in your life, you should know better. And can people learn and change? Of course. But I do see why the NFL put that pressure on him. And you know, I guess he resigned. But if you're going to damage the brand in this capitalist country that we live in, where money trumps everything, you have to understand what is going to happen. And even with Mel Gibson, now the funny thing with Mel Gibson is as horrific as the shit as Mel Gibson said, canceled publicly, yes, he's just not on Front Street anymore. But if you look at Mel Gibson's resume, he's worked more since he made those comments than the 10 years preceding. Mel Gibson is eating heavy. He's not stopped, and they still love him behind the scenes. So yeah, it's a lot of it is perception.
Yep. Like Brian, like we got Hulk Hogan. You know, one person who was never lumped into this too. We could even say Sammy Guevara, who's thriving immensely right now.
Yeah.
With his words against Sasha. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, for me, it's like two different avenues, and I know I'm kind of wishy-washy on certain things, but really quick, I want to go back to what Cammy said earlier with the whole Kanye West thing about the whole, like, you stop not messing with him early or whatever. I watched a YouTube video recently. It was like a comedy skit. It was called Cancel Court, and they did a skit about Tekashi 6ix9ine. Now, there was the prosecutor who was trying to get them to cancel Tekashi 6ix9ine, and then there was the quote-unquote defense attorney. The defense attorney at the very beginning made the best case, and it was similar to what Cammy said. Why am I going to cancel somebody that I don't fuck with? Basically, I'm telling y'all, the jury, to go back, learn about this motherfucker, and then cancel this motherfucker. So you're going to waste more time going to learn about this dude than to cancel him. So I kind of see, you know what I mean? I totally got that aspect. By the way, the defense lost. The prosecution still won because they still wanted to quote unquote cancel. But no, the Hulk Hogan thing to me was always interesting because obviously I'm a diehard wrestling fan. I've been a fan since I was a kid. Hulk Hogan, anybody who grew up in the 80s knows who Hulk Hogan is. You know what I'm saying? He's the biggest quote unquote name in the history. Then the sex tape gets leaked out, and then all the racist comments that come out. And he was quote unquote canceled from the world of professional wrestling with WWE. They removed him from their Hall of Fame and all this other stuff. Then they brought Hogan back. And, you know, a lot of the black wrestlers who were working there at the time said that the apology that Hogan gave wasn't one of those sincere, deep, you know, I'm working on myself, I'm going to do counseling. It was just like, my bad, I got caught.
Yep.
And he expected the black wrestlers to accept that. Then you got guys like Mark Henry, guys like Titus O'Neil, guys like Kofi Kingston, Big E, who are working there. And they're openly saying, you know, we don't really accept what you just said to us because you're not showing any remorse for what you did. You're showing the more of, oh, damn, I got caught. Hey, it's water under the bridge. But, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, if you go, like Dan said, if you go out and you show that you're working towards it, you know what I'm saying? You're trying to make a change. You're trying to make that effort to understand the struggle and to understand the people that you offended is different than just saying, my bad, and moving along. And you can say the same thing about Tessa Blanchard, who just came back, a female wrestler who was the first quote unquote female world heavyweight champion for a professional wrestling company. Decides to leave the company, burns all of her bridges, decides to and a bunch of stories came out the day she won the title. Stories were flooding from other women about the racist comments she's making, spitting in people's faces, how she's being blackballed through all these companies. She wins the title. It should have been the happiest day of her life. Turns out to be one of the worst. A woman disappears, leaves with her husband, goes to Mexico, burns all bridges, just reappears about 2 weeks ago. And instead of, you know, during that time period that she's away, goes out and she's apologizing. She's making these efforts to, like I said, learn the people that she's affecting and why it's affecting them in a certain way. She comes out with a T-shirt that says nuclear. And in pro wrestling, there's this thing called heat. I don't know how many of you guys or the people watching know about pro wrestling, but the term heat in the pro wrestling business means we ain't fucking with you. And if I catch you on the street or if I catch you in the locker room, shit might go down. You know what I mean? So instead of sitting there trying to rebuild that relationship with the people that she's offended and the races that she's offended, she decides to capitalize on it and try to market it as a T-shirt. You know what I'm saying? So people are looking at you are like, well, now we really ain't fucking with you because you had the opportunity. You had the chance to try to correct this, and you're not even doing it. You know what I mean? So when it comes to Gruden, it's one of those situations with me, like I said, prior to the show started, I don't know the whole story about what occurred with John Gruden, but obviously these were private texts or private emails that just got leaked and released. You know, I'm not going to defend somebody for what they do in their private life because we all have our privacy. We all are entitled to it. But you know, now it's like, what's the next step for John Gruden? Is he going to go to these black quote unquote football camps or, you know what I'm saying, and go out and teach these kids in those areas and say, you know, I made a mistake. I ruined a portion of my career because I decided to say this. You know, is he going to make the effort to try to rebuild what he's doing? You know what I'm saying? And try to get back into the quote unquote football world. Because we all know, with all due respect, John Gruden will probably show up on Monday Night Football and do commentary. And ESPN 100%. Would offer him that money just like that. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's not just the quote unquote cancel, or as the gentleman coined the phrase, and I love it, by the way, the calling out culture. It's not just calling the person out. It's what are you going to do after that information is out there? What are the steps?
The follow through.
It's the follow through. Exactly. What are you going to do to repair and amend all of the things that you have done wrong? You know what I'm saying? That's why with me, I always say, Terry is still in that zone for me. I'm not going to refer to him as his other name because that person that I remember was awesome. That's the dude who slammed Andre. That's the guy who went against Warrior and Savage and brought the NWO. For Christ's sakes, the name of our show is UWO. You know what I'm saying? Like, we spawned off of that. But what he did, it offended me so much that I can't even refer to him as that quote unquote character. You know, and the fact that, like I said, he's not trying to do better from that, it just goes to show me that you really aren't remorseful for what you did or what you said.
And to what you spoke on was compartmentalization, is being able to compartmentalize, where that is okay to me in certain cases. There's certain people like R. Kelly, there's no compartmentalizing. You fucked with kids, you deserve to die, in my opinion. But, you know, somebody like Hogan, you know what I'm saying? This is a dude who, let's remember, He was running shoulder to shoulder with Mr. T, one of the blackest men in Black history, period.
Yeah.
Period. And if you really know his story, like that man is blackety black. Even from the reason why he wears the chains.
And he loves his mama.
Yeah, treat her right.
That man loves his mama.
But to go from that to hear him say, I don't want my daughter dating no niggas, you know, it's caused the question. That was Terry Bollea speaking. So yeah, that's what the compartmentalization is. But JP, I mean, this affected your team. And shout out to House in the comments. He posted up this saying, I don't get why they sat on those Gruden emails 4 months. They could have gotten him out of there before the season started or since it was known. They could have gotten him some type of training before the season, 1,000%. Because as he posted in the Starting Five group, where it was said to be known that the NFL knew since June. They should have let him go. They should have let this out in June, or tell the Raiders to let him go in June, which they possibly could have, but they could have let it known in June to not affect the competitive nature of the Raiders as a team. JP.
Yeah. First off, I apologize for being late. I had some phone problems. Damn, my laptop camera doesn't work, but the phone does. The camera does. It's complicated. What's going on, y'all? I'm officially here now. I see Cammy's joined us. What's up, Cammy?
Hi, who's this?
JP.
Oh, hi.
How are you?
All right, now let's get into the response, please.
I am. I'm getting into it. Jeez, just calm yourself down. I'm getting into it now. Anyway,
that's easy. I could just X him out the thing. Go ahead, JP.
Anyway, as I was saying, yeah, but the problem was they were sending those emails until two entities got a hold of them, and you don't mess with them. One was the Wall Street Journal. The other one was the New York Times. That's the only reason why them emails came out and got there, because they might have some other stuff in those emails too that they might not have leaked yet. So that's the reason why they were leaked after 4 months. The NFL knew about that. NFL's nothing but the good old boys network. Let's keep it 100. Let's keep it a buck. Racism is prevalent. Compare the NFL to the NBA. The NBA, I'm sure they still have a little bit of problems and stuff, but for the most part, they are very progressive. You got black GMs, black owners. They also do a lot for the WNBA now. They're starting to. They're coming to the forefront. They have women referees. They are progressive. The NFL is still the good old boys network. There's not one black owner in the NFL. And
Majority owner.
And also, you have to look at this too. As I was telling you when we talked earlier this morning, Mark Davis should be ashamed of himself. He knew about this too. But what does he say? Oh, the NFL is going to deal with it. Instead, he had his general manager come out and make a statement when he's the owner of the team, and he should have made the statement. You're the owner. You're supposed to set the example. And
well, Mark Davis said, and I quote, "Why don't you ask the NFL?"
Right.
The NFL got all the answers.
Right. And the reason why is let's keep it 100. John Gruden's his boy. That's what the whole thing comes down to. They're tighter than tight. He is not like his father. His father was the first one to have a black coach at NFL. He also was very prevalent getting black players on the team. We go to historically black colleges. He also had a woman that was his PR agent or something to do with the organization. The first one to have a woman in an organization in pro football. Al Davis did that. He is not his father. Period.
What I don't understand is the person he sent the emails to never said anything.
Mm-hmm.
What about that part?
Exactly.
What about the people who read who the emails were sent
right.
to?
And they were comfortable.
And they're not responding. Right.
Exactly.
And then they're not being held to the fire like he is.
Right. Everybody.
Why not?
Be.
Why not? He had the opportunity to be like, yo, this is not, what you said was totally out of line, and I can't allow this to happen anymore. But it went on. It went on, and it was swept under the rug like it was no big deal.
I'm going to tell you why. This is my personal belief. I'm going to tell you why. Because some of them names that was on them emails, remember, it was 650,000 emails. Them names on the emails could possibly blow this whole cover on the NFL with everything. That's why. That's why
What's wrong? What's wrong with that, though? What's wrong with that?
I know. No, I'm agreeing with you, but I'm saying that's why the NFL right now, they're sweating. They are really sweating because they don't want those emails leaked. Because I guarantee prominent people who are empowering the NFL are on those emails saying racist, derogatory stuff. And that's why they don't want it to get out. We'll make Gruden the fall guy. Oh, shit, don't let this other stuff get out because if this gets out, it's going to open the Pandora box.
You know, I wonder if...
Go ahead.
I wonder if something I always wonder is when like emails come out, I wonder if the people who received it went to HR or you know, flagged it for someone. And part of what we find that happens a lot of times, and this happened, I don't remember what was it, Fox that had the issue with their CEO or something, or
CBS.
Yeah, and people had gone to HR, they had reported him, but they kept pushing it aside. They kept saying, oh, you know, they kept pushing it under the rug because they didn't want to deal with it. And when you think of how the NFL is trying to change after, you know, they had their Kaepernick thing and then they had George Floyd and they were trying to change, but, you know, they're of course not changing. I wonder if they're trying to hide the fact that really their change was just on the outside and not a total overhaul of how they go about managing the organization. So I kind of wonder if, like, I agree. Like, I wonder if, like, if all of this was released, what would we see? What would some of those chain emails be? What would some of those forwarded emails be? Like, maybe people were trying to do something, but they couldn't because it was basically, you know, a culture of where it's like, our hands are tied. We're not going to handle this.
Mm-hmm. Well, Qatar, you asked what happened behind the scenes. Why this all came out is because the Washington football team and the owner had a scandal of opposed against them by way of former cheerleaders, former staff members, all women, who said that they were being verbally and sexually assaulted in the workplace. And so now the NFL has been investigating this for a few years now since this came out. And the reason why John Gruden got swept up in it is because prominent name in these emails, and it was let out. But my question to it, which we're not getting into, we were just talking about how this ties into the whole cancel call out situation, is why only John Gruden? Why is he the first pawn in all of this?
He's a scapegoat.
Yep.
Right. He's the scapegoat. Yeah, he's the scapegoat to this. But then again, it goes back to the cancel thing of who chose him to be the scapegoat, who chose him to be bulletin board material for this quote unquote cancellation. And
are they just as responsible though? Then are they just responsible?
No, that's what I'm saying.
They know about it, right?
But this is what I'm saying is why if they knew these details and they're obviously hiding the rest right now, why John Gruden? So that's your answer, Qatar, to why this was all happening under his name.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it seems like it does seem like multiple clusters are coming out now, and Gruden probably made a deal, and I'm speculating Gruden probably made a deal with the devil, and now it's and whatever, he must have messed it up. Now it's his time to take the fall because he made a deal with something else. And now it's just, this is what he has to do to pay back. So that's probably it. One thing I wanted to say real quick, Dan, is, and just forget everything else that's happened. There's racist people, as everyone knows on here. There's racist people among us where they will be our friend. They will talk with us every day. They will help us out in certain situations. But at the end of the day, they are still white, we are still black. If something happens really, really wrong and police come in, they're going to turn tail and tell over some, even if we didn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? It's just so ingrained in our country that it's like it's and this is what I'm saying. It's just things are going to be coming out for the rest of our lives, and people are going to try to speak up for it because it's just so ingrained in our community, and it's not right. It's not right at all. And people need to call it out on it and change the whole and change the whole system, because our system is just made up of racist things.
A good way to point that out. And I hate to laugh at this, where the way you put that, where the white versus black, and Nick is at the center of in the screen on this conversation. No, it's not Nick. We all know Nick. We all know Nick, but it ain't that. It was just the irony of it all. And
I'm going
he's the
center
center
square for
of
500, Dan. Center square for 500.
But the way but the way that was left by you, Qatar, is the way to end this. Once again, people, this is again. I will change my stance on this by way of this conversation. And thank you to your lady, Brian Dina, who mentioned earlier. This is all things that we have needed to be talked about. Thank you for doing this podcast. Mm-hmm. This is why we do what we do as podcasters here. You gotta have these conversations. I mean, y'all slogan was embrace. What is y'all slogan with change the conversation? Yeah, it's change the conversation. And these are these types of conversations that need these platforms like this. They need this almost 2-hour conversation. You know, we are all of a certain thought process where we're not unified in thought, but we definitely agreed on a lot of things here. These platforms are here for expressing what we do, and we utilize it more in the right way, with the exception of, like I said again, as I bring the camera to my face, set up this fight between me and Jason Whitlock. Please, I'm asking for it. I'm begging, because just one of them things that I dislike. Reason why I say that is people who forget who they are.
Dan, you sound like Brother Umar trying to set up the fight with Mike Tyson, bro.
Oh no, but
it's not going to happen.
But here's the difference, though. Here's the difference in that. I didn't earn millions of dollars over the years to defraud people and still not have a school up.
Indeed.
I embrace that fight because I don't like the coonery, and he's made our Coontang clan list before. I just would like to knock the remember you're black in him. That's it. That's all. I would just like to knock the blackness back into him. And remember who the fuck you are. That's all I'm saying. But I digress. We're done. This was dope, y'all. I thank y'all all for coming on. This is going to be the order for the final shout-outs. Cammy, since you came last. You, Garbled, Brian, Jamal, and then the team. Have at it. Final shout out time.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I'm glad I got to be on here. I'm glad I had the time to make it. Do I shout out my family? I don't.
Of course you can, especially your dad, because you were the one who put your pops onto our show.
I did, and I'm going to tell him to listen to this one specifically. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. Thanks for making me. I didn't ask to be here, but whatever. So, but thank you all. Thanks, HDG starting 5. Thanks, all the networks. There you go.
There you go. Next,
Ramon.
Thanks for listening, folks. You can check us out at Garble Podcast on your streaming platform of choice,
including YouTube. And thanks for having us, Dan. This was great.
Yeah,
I know. Ramon stumbled because it's been a while for y'all.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Brian,
knocking the rust off.
Brian.
First and foremost, thank you to this. I'm here. First and foremost, thank you to this awesome group of people here. This was an awesome conversation. Catch us, UWO Podcast on Facebook. We will be live tomorrow night, hopefully. And yeah, I am not canceling Peter Rabbit. I had to get that in there. I'm sorry.
Or Pepe Le Pew.
Or Pepe Le Pew. I canceled either one then.
Jamal.
Shout out to the panel for today, Nick and Ramon and Brian. Nice to meet y'all. Lady Guitar, great to see you again. Cammy, I caught a few of your lightning bolts, so it's fine to meet you in person. Brother TJ, Brother Dan, and shout out to everybody who's just willing to come to the table and have a conversation on things they don't understand or things they're uncomfortable with.
JP and Katara, the two missing members of the group.
First lady first.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry, I was unmuting myself. Shout out to all the guests came on here. Shout out to especially Brian. I came on just to visit before I was doing something, and the topic was, I guess, on generalizations, or a question was to you, and I saw your response, and I'm like, okay, let me come on to this. This seems interesting. So shout out for Brian for getting me back on. Again, shout out to the starting five as usual. I can't make a lot of the shows because I'm busy, but it's always great to have a conversation and let people know what the real issue is. Shout out to Cammy for coming on. I think I probably only saw you in the starting five, so it's great to have another female lead. Great to have another Black female lead. Let's make that, on here. So it's great. And just everybody, be true to you. And hey, everything else will follow.
All right. Shout outs, first of all, to the Garble Podcast. Thank you all for coming on with us. Shout outs to Brother Jamal. Shout outs to Cammy.
Shout out, JP. I forgot
yes,
to
sir.
Shout out.
Shout outs to Cammy. Don't be a stranger. And yes, she be roasting cats in HHDG. And she's on point. She be having them tongue tied. She be having talking in tongues. I don't know what to say. Keep on doing you, Cammy. Just keep on. Shouts to the mayor. Shouts to TJ. Shouts to Qatar. And I can say a special.
No shout outs to Brian.
Oh, I said shouts to
Was it because I'm Black?
Not Brian.
I know it's the other one.
Yeah. Also, one last shout out. Shouts to my boy John, man, on the loss of his grandfather, John Johnson, on the loss of his grandfather, Mr. Manny Knox. Brilliant man, lived to be 96 years old, was a Korean War veteran, World War II veteran, and also a Vietnam veteran. We called him Pops. He passed away on Tuesday, and it's a hurtful thing, man. He was a great man, even up to his last day. One of the best people you could ever meet. A lot of history and everything. We're gonna miss him. Shouts to my boy John. Of course, me, Kev, Mont, Los, all of us. We with you, brother. Just wanted you to know that, and that's it for this week. Oh, and one more thing. I will have John on in the future to talk about his grandfather, because he has a book also that he wrote 2 years ago. One of the biggest regrets, this is my last thing, one of the biggest regrets I have, I wish we could have had Mr. Manny Knox on the show. But you always think you have time. But I notice time is of the essence, and that's one of the regrets that I have, to have a man like that to come on our show.
Gotcha. We got that. Rest is easy. TJ.
Yes. Shout out to Cammy. Thank you for coming on. Much appreciated. Please do come back. Shout out to Jamal. Always, coming in with the timely as a guest appearance. Shout out to Brian and UWO. Please come back on, brother. Shout out to the Garblecast brothers. Love you guys. I think I did the year-end show with Nick before, and I've met Ramon personally. I just now remembered I met him when I was down in Philly with Dan. So respect to y'all. Shout out to the First Lady Katara and JP. Don't forget to hit the URL codes on to join the podcast and join the show. Dan, this was a great show. Thanks for putting it all together and getting this podcast done. Love all of you guys. You're muted, Dan.
My brother.
Dan.
I was. Now, as a big ups to all of y'all. Thank y'all for coming on again. Once again, important conversations that are needed to be had. Cammy, once again, I said what I said in the beginning, but it's all love as always. And you're definitely welcome back all the time. Katara, JP, y'all are welcome back all the time too. You know, y'all are a part of this allegedly. Nick, Ramon, you know, we got to get up soon. Jamal definitely got to get up, and thanks for that invite. Much success to you on your film project that you should have shouted out also. Brian, big ups to you and the UWO as always. I should be watching for my little bit of hour tomorrow before I go to sleep. But we also by side note with the UWO stuff, we got to get y'all to get the show on the audio platforms also, man. Because I tried to look for y'all in like Apple and stuff like that.
It's all of our older stuff, yeah.
Oh yeah. So get you know, however I can help to get y'all up to date with that and get that rolling again. Get it on the audio platforms, man, to broaden y'all reach.
They will be back up shortly. Trust me. I'm like I said, I'm trying to go and try to get all the back catalog of stuff that we've had up, but most likely I'm just gonna have to just start re-recording and just going live with what we have.
Yeah, that's it. Just start new with what you have. It's a suggestion. But last but not least, I gotta add. I started this off with a laugh. I'm gonna end this off with a laugh. Everybody on the YouTube and the Facebook, y'all will be able to see this video. Audio, you're just gonna be able to hear it. But here it is. Oh, son of a bitch.
Right.
Let's start it off.
Reason Batman don't cover his whole face because he needs police to know he's white.
That's it. You know.
And he rocking the orange shirt. And he rocking the orange shirt.
Well, I had to tell him thanks, Tupac, because he looked like Tupac. But that's it. We're done. With that being said, y'all, we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.
Bye.
Peace out.